Well, good afternoon, everybody. Ron Wheeler here. It's good to have all of you with us. And I want to thank you for being just a few minutes early. We are going to get started in about 5 minutes officially, but I always like to open up the room just to make sure everybody can hear my voice and see my screen. And that way, hey, we're going to go over some great stuff today. So I want to make sure that everything works and that all the technology is working. So do me a favor. I just flipped the slide. It should say on air. If you can hear that, well, if you can hear me, and you can see it, just type in a yes in the chat window for me. I appreciate that. That way I know that all of the technology and all that great stuff is working. All right. Lots of folks are chiming in. I see Cameron, you were first. David and Steven and Georges and Jeff and Mark and Tony. Okay, good. So it looks like the vast majority of you guys that's kind of scrolling by can hear my voice and see my screen. That's a good thing. And then I started the YouTube presentation. So hopefully those of you watching on YouTube are experiencing the same joy of my voice, as I always like to say. I'm just kidding, by the way. I'm being silly. But good to have you all with us again. So, also, if you're wondering, well, where do I respond to you, Ron? In the lower right hand corner of your control panel for GoToWebinar, there's like a little chat button or a chat window. You just open that up, click on the little chevron, and then you can, just type your comment into us. And then I can see it, my co-presenters can see it, and then you guys unfortunately cannot see the comments, which is kind of a bummer. It makes answering questions a lot easier, but that's how GoToMeeting works. But we'll we'll work with it. So good. Glad everybody can hear me so far. And again, we're going to start in about 3 minutes or so, but I just like to start the session a little bit early to make sure everything's working. And then while we're kind of passing the time, I'm kind of wondering what time is it by you? I'm doing this presentation out of Ohio. I work out of our VectorVest Akron office, though I'm working from home right now because it's already 4:30-ish Eastern time, and I don't like to stay in the office past 7 or 6. So I do these from home when I have evening classes. Just kind of wondering where you guys are checking in from. I see quite a few of you also in the East Coast time frame with me. A lot of 427, 427. A couple of folks from Canada. Awesome. A couple from New York. Yep, there. Toronto, Texas. Awesome. Texas is more central, I think. Out west, I see 130. I do like, one thing I always liked about trading when I was doing this more on the road, and I would do like live presentations and live trading courses on the road about working in California. Yeah, it's a bummer you have to wake up at like 5 o'clock in the morning to trade, but it's so nice. It was so nice to be done at like 1:30. It was so nice as opposed to like now you're done at like 4:15 if you're doing full time trading, and then I got to do all that other stuff. So, what are you gonna do? There's always good. There's always bad. Jeff, North Carolina, I see you there as well. Cool. My colleagues are down in North Carolina in the Charlotte area, our VectorVest home office down there. So they'll be chatting with you today too. Also, while we're kind of chatting away, just kind of curious, you working still, retired? I originally developed this curriculum and this course for retirees because retirees are always looking to generate additional income. They're not working anymore. They want to create more income. Well, I found over the years that honestly everybody likes it, right? Everybody wants more income. Whether you're 65, 75, 85, heck, I've had people that are 90 years old take the course. I've had people that are 14 years old take the course. So everybody really wants to make additional income. I'm just kind of curious to see the demographics, if you will, to where everybody is at. And then also, while we're talking about that, while you guys are chiming in, I can read all your responses. One thing I will tell you as we go through this, and I'll just kind of lead with it before we get started. What I do with the options trades that I do, I am not a day trader. I used to day trade a long time. I'll talk more about that as we go through the curriculum, but I'm not a day trader. So what you're going to see in the class and in the webinar today is definitely not something day trading. Our average trades take about 7 to 10 days. So we are not day traders. We are more, I guess you could say, midterm swing traders. So my goal is to present something to you that you can do in a limited amount of time, as little as 15 minutes a week if you want to. You can do it a couple hours a day if you want to, if you have some time. So the beauty about what we'll talk about today is it scales, and that's really the key here. So put as much time into it as you want, put as little time into it as you want. It still is going to work out pretty darn well for you. That's the beauty. All right, well, it is 4:30, so let's do this. Let's officially get started. I want to welcome everybody to today's webinar. It's called the Options Paycheck. the how to generate 3% per month with one options trade per week. And in today's webinar, I'm going to show you the breakthrough system I developed here at VectorVest to help you generate income in any market. Now, the information I'm going to share with you has changed my life, and I've seen it change the lives of so many people. So I hope you're excited about it as well. In this webinar, you're going to see how you can begin making a paycheck averaging 3% per month or more. Now, keep in mind, you can do it regardless of market direction. You can do it even if you have little to no prior experience with trading or options. It's safer than buying or even selling stocks, and it's something that you can implement quickly. And if I were in your shoes, you might be thinking, well, that sounds ridiculous. Is it legit? And it may sound too good to be true, but that's healthy. I want you to have skepticism. I see those, annoying, overhyped Facebook ads where there's like, 18-year-old kids. Oh, I'm a professional trader and I just rented this house, and it's all BS. They're like Airbnbs. I'm not like that. I want to let the results stand for themselves. So my last full year, and I run a coaching group here at VectorVest called the Ultimate Retirement Group. These are the trades that I did live in class with my students. So last year, I had a $100,000 account. Over the course of 2023, I had a $37,000 in profit. I had a 60% win rate, which I think is pretty good. It was a little low in my opinion, but 60% is not bad. My average winning trade was $1,000. My average losing trade was about $1,000 last year. And you can kind of see that, like any trading system, I have months where I don't make money. I have months where I make money. So last year, out of the 12 months, I made money 8 out of the 12 months, and I had drawdown in 4. So you take all that together, I averaged about 3% per month, which is what my goal is. My goal is to average about 3% per month. Now this year, and unfortunately, I'm still working on my statistics for April, May, and June, because those are the last 3 completed months. As of the end of March, I was up around about 11% or so. Now I can tell you through April, May, and June that I added a few percentage to that, probably about 3 or 4% from my early looking at my accounts. And then July, with the market topping, I have a little bit of drawdown in July. So July is not a profitable month for me so far. I've had some drawdown. So just like to try to keep as honest as I can there. But I have results like this going back for every year I've done the retirement coaching group here at VectorVest. So, it's something that is doable, it's realistic, and it's something I do live with my clients. Now, I've been teaching this technique to VectorVest students since 2016. And one of my recent students, he sent me this email back in December. And he said, hey, Ron, I just want to send you a quick email to thank you and your team for the SPX paycheck. I've been using the method, tracking my performance, and thought you'd like to see the results. I entered my first 35 Delta trade on September 21st, 2023, with only $5,000 in my margin account. Now, less than 3 months later, I'm already up 24.9%. Thanks again. I'll be teaching this method to my retired in-laws to help them grow their account in retirement. Now, I love to hear that. And there's a lesson in there too. You don't need to dedicate 100 grand to this. You can start with 5 grand like Carrie did, or 6 grand. Okay. You can build small while you learn and practice, because that builds up very quickly. If you started with $5,000 and you average 3% per month compounded over 15 years, that puts you over $1 million. And if you started with a little bit more, like 25, you'd be near $1 million after 10 years. You're looking at some serious money. Now, clearly, if you have more than $5,000 or $25,000, you get there much faster. Okay. Now, some of my clients were kind enough to share their photos and their results with you, and we'll talk about a few of them today. These are real people just like you. Now, as I teach you the system today and I share their stories, I want you to pay close attention, because you might find that you're in a similar position now as they were when they started. I mentioned earlier that my name is Ron Wheeler. I'm the options trading manager at VectorVest. I've been trading now for 27 years. I started in 97. Now, when I first started, first couple of years, I had mostly losses because, like most investors, I learned how to trade. But to be a good trader, you have to do 2 things. Number one, you have to figure out direction. I was a day trader and I traded commodity futures. So if I bought the S&P futures, or if I bought crude oil or corn or whatever I bought at the time, if I bought it, it had to go up. If it didn't go up, I didn't make any money. If I sold something short, it had to go down, I didn't make any money. Well, you got to learn how to find direction, right? Then once you find direction, then you got to be a money manager. You got to make sure your winning trades are paying for your losing trades, and your losing trades aren't paying for your overtaking your winning trades. It's a juggle to be a trader. It takes time. Well, I had a client who, I had talked to for years as a support person. And then, once I became a successful, and once I started trading, it took me a couple of years to get a good profit base under me. But he would always call, he would talk about options. And I'm like, not really into options, but cool story, bro. Well, anyway, he came to our office one week, and he came because he was in town and he wanted to talk to us, meet us in person, all that kind of stuff. So he actually sat down and he gave me like a little options tutorial. And he said, here's what we do at the institutional level. He said, we set up our trades and we hedge our trades so that even if we're wrong, we can still make money. He's like, and we use options to limit our risk. That way we have a maximum amount we can lose no matter what the market does. So I'm like sitting there saying, okay, I can limit my risk if I do options correctly. I can have a max amount of loss no matter what the market does. And even if I'm wrong, I can make money. That was a big aha moment to me. That was huge. Think of what that does for you. You don't even have to be right to make money. And the trades themselves have risk built into them, so you can't lose more than a certain amount no matter what the market does. That's beautiful. Well, I'm going to take you on a similar journey today. I'm going to show you the exact system that I use to generate these types of returns. I'm going to show you case studies and examples of our clients who are doing this also. And I'm going to show you our system so that if you learn and follow our strategies, you can do the same. Now, if you stay with me to the end, I put together a checklist to help you plan out your trade. It's a PDF. We'll put it right in the handout section of the GoToWebinar. It's usually right above the chat window. I'll drop it right in there, click on it, print it out. But do me a favor and remind me towards the end, because after I talk for like an hour, I typically just forget about that stuff. So, okay? All right. Why is this such an important topic, this whole income idea? Well, without an income system, it's on you. And that creates a number of problems for us. If you're not retired, it keeps you stuck in a situation where we have to work in order to live. Whether you got a lot of money or no money at all, concerns about finance are one of the leading causes of stress. Worrying about whether we're going to have enough or if we're going to run out of money, that can have an impact on our lives, our health, our relationships. If you're already retired, you might be watching your savings get depleted faster than you could fill it, especially with inflation the way it is, right? 2%, yeah, 3%, come on. If things don't improve, you may fear you'll continue to have losses that draw on your account. You might even fear you have to give up on investing and go back to work if you're retired. Worst case scenario, if you were retired, you run out of money. But with a system that helps you generate income, things are a lot different. And I think this is probably the most important point of the webinar.
They just need to
So
realize what they're
pay
looking
close
at.
attention.
And I set
Bear with me
compliance
one second. I got
hearings.
something going on
And
in the
I'm not even
background.
going to consider.
Okay, there we go. That's the downside of a live seminar. Sometimes weird things happen on my computer. All right. So again, I was talking about how I think this is one of the most important points of the presentation. So pay attention. If you want to be financially free, our main need is income. To be financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income from your investments that covers your expenses and lifestyle needs. So I'll say that again. In order to become financially free, you need to learn to generate enough income for your investments to cover your expenses and lifestyle needs. Now, whether you're still working or retired, the ability to generate income from your investments is one of the most empowering skills that you can have. Because when you have the ability to generate income from your investments, your life changes. If you're still working, you get to increase your earning capacity. It's like having a second job. If you're retired, you can have a consistent source of income as if you quit your job, but they kept paying you. It's like a tap you can turn on whenever you want. This allows you to do the things you want to do now and when you retire. When you got a system to help you generate income, it can help you retire younger. Now, as I said, I think this is one of the most important points of the presentation, so I'm going to say it again. When the income from our investments exceeds our living expenses, we become financially free or have the ability to retire. For example, Brian's a client of ours. He's a great example of how easy you can become being proficient at drawing an income from the market, even if you don't have to start with a lot of money to begin with. Now, Brian said he had some health problems and needed a way to supplement his income. By using the options paycheck system, he was able to generate $23,000 in profits, starting with just $6,000. He had a heck of a winning streak, 31 of 31 winning trades in a row, using our most basic index system. Now, the key point here is this. This is not beginner's luck. It's the result of following the system. It's the system that helped him get those 100% winning trades and create that $23,000 in profit in 10 months. Now, the first thing you need to know to take control of your returns, it's a bit of a strategic mindset shift. You're either going to continue being the gambler where you lose more than you win, or you're going to become an option seller so you can learn how to win more than you lose. Being an option seller is the way that you can make consistent income. It allows you to win even if you're wrong. Now, why would you want to be the house or the casino? Well, in the grand scheme of things, the house always wins. Now, why does the house always win? Because they control and they stack probability in their favor. They can build massive billion-dollar complexes on a 1% edge. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to do something similar. The paycheck system is built around you stacking the odds massively in your favor. So make a note of this. If you want to control your returns and results, you got to learn how to stack probability in your favor. And the obvious question is, well, how do we do it? The first step is shift from being the buyer of an option to being the seller. So let me explain. Bruce is a great example of that shift from gambling on stocks to being in the casino and controlling and stacking probability. He said prior to working with us, he had mainly taken stock tips from his broker. Now, he focused on our SPX income system, which is our most basic trading system. He said he wasn't the most technical person in the world. But in the time that he's been working with us, he's grown his trading account from $100,000 to $497,000 in 3.5 years. He's achieving a 74% win percentage simply by following the rules of the options paycheck system. And the whole system takes him around 15 minutes a day. So let me show you how this works. This is an example of a typical trade you've been taught to make. You find a stock you like, you think it's going to go up, so you either buy shares of it or you buy a call. Now, why do you buy a call option? Well, when you started learning option trades, or maybe you're just becoming familiar with option trades, it's the most basic trade you can do. If you think a stock goes up, you buy a call. If you think a stock goes down, you buy a put. But what ends up happening a lot of the times? Well, maybe the stock doesn't go up, or it doesn't go up enough, and the call you bought ends up expiring worthless. Has that ever happened to you? Yes. What's the problem causing you to lose? Most people feel the problem is they picked the wrong stock. Maybe they picked the wrong strike price or the wrong expiration. But let's talk about the real problem. If you've been losing money or had more losers than winners with other systems, it's not your fault. It's because most of the systems on the planet teach you to be on the wrong side of the trade. You're taught to buy an option. But as a buyer, the probabilities are not on your side. And for most people, they end up buying and losing and buying and losing and buying and losing. Our options paycheck system teaches you a new way of thinking. You need to be a seller and not a buyer because this is how you get ahead of everyone else. This is how we put probability on our side, and it's how we can win even if you're wrong. So let's take a closer look at what we mean by selling options. As a buyer, a typical trade gives you a 50-50 chance to be a winner. Because when you buy, the only way you make money is if the stock moves in your direction, right? So instead of having a buyer's mentality, we're going to have a seller's mentality. Instead of hoping a stock goes up, as a seller, you're going to strategically set up your trade using probability. Now, probability will tell you where the stock is not likely to go. So instead of the stock just needing to go in your direction, you can pick a price like right here. The stock's at $204. You can see it right here. I'm picking a price down here at 195 that says, as long as we stay above 195, I can make money. Now think about that, right? We think the stock is going to go up. If it goes up, great, we make money. But now we've got this big green area. If the stock goes sideways, we can still make money. If the stock goes down, we still have room to make money. If it drops below 195, we can exit the trade and take a small proportional loss. Kind of like what you saw earlier where my average winning trade's 1,000, my average losing trade's 1,000. Right from the very beginning, probability is put in our favor. And in some cases, we can even go further. In this case, I've created a 70% probability zone for myself. Remember, the stock's at 204. Now I've gone down here to 190. And as long as the stock stays above 190, and really all I need it to do to stay above that 190 is for the next 7 to 10 days, and I can make money on the trade. You can only do this as an option seller. As a seller, you're putting the probability of success in your favor. That's why I call this an income trade. What's the difference? An income trade is one where you can make money even if you're wrong on direction. Now, you guys remember Bruce's story? Bruce continues to trade with me every week. He's expanded beyond what we taught him. In fact, he posts on our private Facebook group, he said, another good day of trading on the beach. Got my eyes on AMC and a cold beer. Life's good. Thank you, VectorVest and Ron, for giving us the tools to do what we do from anywhere. That is a great picture of financial freedom. Now, another one of our clients, Mike, he said he dabbled with options, but he said he lost in each trade. Have you ever been there? Can you imagine how frustrating that is to lose on each of your trades? He gave up. He went back to the books and he tried to learn more about trading options. He said it didn't matter because he still couldn't figure out. He had no set criteria. He had all this knowledge, but no way to use it properly. So we worked together. I taught him the options paycheck system, becoming an option seller, and he became like an income machine. After he learned the system, he immediately went out and said he had 17 out of 19 winning trades. He had made over 12 grand in the first 4 months. But the key lesson here is this, is that switch from buyer or the gambler to the seller or being the house or the casino, that turned his situation around. He was even so proud of his results, he sent me his spreadsheet. Take a look at the profit column versus the losses. Now take a look at the work days. As I said, this is not day trading. It's a 7 to 10 day trading system typically, right? He's pulling in about $1,000 every 7 to 10 days. That's what we want. Now, our most simple strategy, which is based off the S&P, we trade the SPX index, has had a compounded return since about 4.5% per month. Now that basically is now like unlike me, right? I trade $100,000. I keep my trading account at 100 grand. This is compounded. So if you start at 100, you make 25. Now you're trading 125. You up your size of your trades. I personally don't do that anymore. I used to, but now I just pretty much stayed where I am. But this is a compounded return over the course of like 9 years. The odds are stacked in your favor on these trades. You're not looking for one big home run trade. You're growing your account steadily and safely. And that's really the key takeaway here. Home runs look good, but singles are what win the games. These singles are what will enable you to never run out of money and be able to do the things you want to do. Now, you've seen by flipping from buyer to seller that we can start stacking odds significantly in our favor. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to stack the odds even further by understanding and then capitalizing on the 3 most common buyers or gamblers' mistakes. So mistake number 1 that option buyers do is they choose unrealistic strike prices. They choose strike prices that are so far away the stock has very little chance of hitting it. Let me show you. This is a stock. Let's say you're bullish on the stock. The stock is trading at $217 essentially, right? A mistake that a lot of option buyers do is they'll go buy their calls, way up here. The stock has very little chance of going from 217 to 230. They're not going to make money unless that happens. Why do they do that? Why do they set up a trade that has such a little bit of chance of probability? Because too many option buyers treat options like lottery tickets, and most of the time they lose. Now, since there's those buyers out there who are buying those options, we may as well be the one who sells it to them. Because when we sell them that option that they have a low probability of winning, that gives me a high probability of winning. And the same is true for puts. People buy puts way below the market because they're cheap, right? I think the stock's going to go down. I'll buy a $200 put. It costs me 25 bucks. Or maybe they're buying a protective put for the stock they own. It doesn't matter why they do it, but they do it. Okay? Because they're out there doing it, they need a seller. I'm their guy. You should be their person as well. Because when we sell them the options, we give ourselves a 60 to 90% probability of success. Now, the second mistake that buyers make is they choose options that have expiration dates way too close. It's like when you go to the grocery store and you see a steak that's discounted because it expires today. If you go home and cook it, great value. But if you don't, it's going to spoil and rot and you have to throw it away. Very similar to how options work. I want you to take a look. This is option time value. And if you start in the upper left-hand corner, this is 6 months before expiration. Now, what you're going to see is that in the lower right corner, that's the date of expiration. The value of the option slowly and slowly and slowly starts to decline. And then rapidly and rapidly, then right about here, that decay becomes exponential. Now, what happens is a lot of option buyers really try to target their option buys in this area. The problem is the premium is really, really low. They love that. but the time runs out very fast. What we're going to do is we're going to target selling options in that window because that decay is my friend. The faster an option expires with no value, the faster I make money. Now, to be specific, we are going to sell our options 21 to 45 days away. Okay. I know there's a lot of people out there with 0 data expiration options. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. There's just other strategies that you want to do for that. This is not like that. Okay. We want 21 to 45 days away. We want some premium. We want some room to be wrong. This is where we target for our sweet spot. That puts that time decay in my favor. Let me kind of give you another way to look at this. This is Home Depot. If you think that Home Depot is going to go up, a lot of traders go out there and they'll buy a call. That's about a month and a half away, right? It's the beginning of March. I'm selling or I'm buying a call in mid-April. It's about a month and a half away. But you are still in that big time decay window. So if you buy a call, what happens is that call is slowly and then fast losing its value. Even if the stock is going up in your favor, that time decay is eating into the profits you have. Buyer, beware. Seller, thumbs up, because that decay goes right into your pocket as profit. Now you got to think of it this way, right? If you've never been an option seller before, you have to kind of reverse your logic. When you buy something, I want to buy it for $1 and sell it for 3. As a seller, I want to sell it for 3, and then I want to watch the price of that thing go down, decay, because I can exit that trade later at a lower price. If I sell an option for $3,000, I can come back 10 days later and exit the trade when it's only worth $2,000, and I can make money on the trade. That's how option selling works. Now, that's why time decay works. Now, the third mistake, and I want you to pay attention to this one. This is one that a lot of people miss, paying too much. A lot of buyers buy overpriced options. So let me show you what I'm talking about here. And again, this is important. Here's 2 stocks. I want you to notice the price. One stock over on the left, 76.24. One stock over on the right, 76.36. So it's like 12 cents of each other, basically the same price. But look at the vast difference of the option. This option for one call is going to cost you $910. This option is going to cost you $180. Same strike price, same expiration. Why are they so different? Because the option on the left has extremely high volatility. Buyers who buy high volatility options are paying way too much. Well, what's the big deal, right? Well, the best way I can describe this, and you've probably heard this before if you've heard my seminars, I describe it as strawberries. My kids love strawberries. In fact, they're going through a strawberry rush right now. I got to buy like 15 quarts of strawberries a week, or pints. I can never remember if it's a quarter or a pint, whatever it is. It's like a container I buy. I've seen strawberry prices here in Ohio, and I'm in Ohio, by the way. So if you're looking at it, it's like, oh my gosh, Ron, you're paying way cheap money for these things. I live in Ohio, Midwest. I've bought strawberries for them anywhere from $1.50 to like $5. $1.50 is the low end. That's underpriced. $5 is high end. That's an overpriced strawberry to me. Now, whether I buy those strawberries for $1.50 or $5, it makes no difference to the kids. They're going to eat them. They're going to taste the same, and they're going to be happy. I'm not very happy, but they're happy because they get their strawberries, right? The taste is the same. It has no bearing on how they enjoy that product. Options are different. Let's pretend each of these stocks go up $8 a share. Think about that. You're not an options trader right now. You're just a stock buyer. You bought 100 shares of each of these stocks. Each stock goes up $8. You just profited $800 on each stock. However, you don't want to do it anymore. You're an options guy. You're an options trader. You want the leverage. You want the risk. All that great stuff about options. So you go out there and you buy a call. Here's the problem. That $8 movement of the stock over on the left is a losing trade. You will lose money. You pick direction right, maybe you pick the option right, maybe you pick the strike price right, but you still lost money. Versus over on the right, you had almost a 400% return. What's the difference? Why did that happen? It all traces back to volatility. When you buy an expensive, overpriced option, the stock has to move way more than it needs to or should do for you to be profitable. Now, I mentioned that these are mistakes that buyers make that we take advantage of. I'm going to search out and I'm going to look for these overpriced options and sell them. Why? Because when I sell an overpriced option, number one, I get paid more and I can make more money. Number two, it minimizes my risk tremendously. Number three, it allows me to put even more probability on my side by selling an option with a greater probability of success. Overpriced options are huge for us. It's one of the biggest things we look for. We're going to be stacking probability even more on our side. Now, Bob has one of the most interesting stories I've seen. He said prior to working with us, he was making a bunch of the mistakes we talked about, and it cost him dearly. In fact, he said he ended up either broke or bankrupt 3 times. In his own words, came close to living under a bridge. The options paycheck system helped Bob turn his situation around in as little as 4 months. He learned to turn those mistake liabilities into strategies that controlled and stacked the probability in his favor. In 4 months, Bob grew his account by 71% and achieved a 79% winning trade percentage. Remember, if you want to control and stack your probability in returns and results, you got to learn how to do this. Now, let me ask you a question. Share with me in the chat. Have any of you ever made those buyer's mistakes before? While you're typing in, if you remember from my beginning, I said that I really wasn't a fan of options. It's because I did all this. It's how I know they're mistakes. I see you guys coming in now. Yep, yes, of course. Oh, I've never traded options before. Okay, good. You've never made those mistakes. Here's the good part. Now you know what to look for. Okay. Now you at least have a starting block of what you can look for to not make those same mistakes. That's the beauty of it. Too many. Yep. That's why I switched to selling. Exactly. Okay. Listen, we've all made those mistakes. It's not our fault. We were just taught, or we weren't even taught, a broken system. Now, I saw some comments in there about risk. Now that you know you want to be an option seller, let's learn how to trade with very little risk. Because when a lot of people hear the word options, and especially selling options, they immediately think risky. However, the options paycheck system uses a low risk strategy for selling options. And this is why it's a core strategy we teach our retirees. Now, why is reducing risk so important? Well, most people who don't use the options paycheck system, they're not preserving their capital. You can have one trade wipe out all the gains from a bunch of winners. Now, how does this happen? If you remember again from when I talked about how, the hedge fund manager came to visit our office, he talked about controlling risk. When you do this right, you are going to know what your risk is before you take the trade. You should never take a trade that can do this, ever. You know what the risk is ahead of time. Never set yourself up for a trade that has this type of risk. That's the beauty of options. You know the risk ahead of time. If this happens to you and you have that one bad trade that wipes out a bunch of winners, it makes it really hard and a long time to recover those losses. But when you do it right, you have the right system in place, you're going to have a built-in protection plan. You're going to take care of risk management before you even open the trade. And again, I call you back to the beginning. Average winning trade 1,000, average losing trade 1,000. This year, average winning trade I think was like 800, average losing trade was 700. Okay? You're not going to take big monetary risks. You will avoid taking those trades. Because when you can select stocks properly, set your trades up in a way that reduce risk, it allows you to preserve and grow your capital. And like I said earlier, home runs look great, right? But singles win the games. Now, one of the most common questions I get asked is, can I do this in an IRA? Well, a client of ours, John, grew his IRA over 100% in 1 year using our options paycheck system. He said he had tried and struggled with some time before working with us. He learned to follow the system and turned his inconsistent results into predictable monthly income. In 12 months, he enjoyed 85% winning trades and more than doubled the size of his IRA while spending no more than 15 minutes per day on his trading. So the paycheck system makes sure you reduce your risk before you, again, even open the trade. First, by stock selection. We choose stocks that are low risk. We have a very specific criteria, but in general, if we're bullish, we start by focusing on good stocks that are already rising in price, very similar to what you see here. Then, instead of selling an option naked, we sell with protection. So let me kind of explain this, and let me show you what it means. Now, a traditional option selling system leaves you with all of this risk down here. What we're going to do is we're going to shrink your risk to this. So let me show you how this works. This again is a graph of a typical stock we'd be bullish on. It's a beautiful graph. So it's understandably bullish on a stock that looks like this. Traditionally, you would go out, buy the stock right here, right? Maybe even buy a call, but use the stock price as where you set your strike price. But you're not the buyer anymore. You're going to be the seller. So what you're going to do, using probability, you are going to, in a bullish market, you are going to go below the stock price and you are going to sell a put. A put that gives you at least a 60% probability of winning. Okay? If you didn't know this, I'll talk about this later. Every option has a built-in probability. Now, when I sell that option, I get paid a premium, right? In this case, I get paid $200. If I did 10 contracts, pays me $2,000. Now, when I get paid, don't think that I just made $2,000 and I'm done with the trade. Doesn't work like that. Here's what being an option seller means. When you sell a put, it exposes you to all of this risk. Here's why. When you sell an option, that option is a contract. That contract states if I am required to do so, I may be put or I may have to buy that stock for $135 a share. Now, no one's going to make you buy the stock for $135 a share if the stock is greater than 135. They're not going to make you do that. Okay, that's number one. So we're going to avoid the risk of that by exiting the trade before that happens. But Ron, what happens if something crazy happens and there's whatever stock this is has some kind of like huge news event and the stock opens up at $100 a share? There's a very real possibility that you may be forced to buy the stock at 135 bucks and now you're in a position where you own the stock at 135 and it's trading at 110. You just had yourself a massive loss. Not good. Okay? So when you sell an option, it's a contract that you are selling that says you will do something if needed. All right? So here's how we're going to limit this risk. We're going to take some of the premium that we collected. We're going to go a little bit lower, lock in the risk right there by buying a put as insurance. When I sell a put, it says I may have to buy the stock at 135. When I buy the put, it says I can sell it for 100. Or I'm sorry, 130 in this case. Now, that limits me to a $5 risk. No matter what happens to this trade, the most I can lose is $5. That's it. Now, that insurance costs me something, right? It cost me, in this case, 100 bucks. When I sold the option, I got $200. When I buy the insurance, I pay 100. The end result of that trade, though, is that it's a credit to me. I get paid $100 to place that trade. If I did 10 contracts, I would get paid 1,000 bucks. Now, what this does is it does this. If the stock goes up, like I think it will, those options in that transaction, remember I talked about how they decay and they go down in price? What's going to happen is those options, if I sold this and collected 1,000 bucks, this is a trade. Now, if I explain to you like buying a stock, right? I bought 100 shares of stock at $138. You don't have any problem for the most part saying, all right, Ron, I bought the stock at 138. If it goes to 142, I'm going to exit the trade and take profits. All right, I bought the stock at 138. If it goes down to 135, I'm going to exit the trade and take a loss. Start thinking about options like this in the same token. If the stock goes up, I make money. I have a predetermined profit target I'm looking for. If the stock goes down, I'm going to exit my trade if it gets to 135. But the nice thing is, we've created a scenario where it goes up, sideways, and if it goes past 135, we exit the trade. Now, let me explain. When I mentioned earlier that, if the stock goes way down, I can buy back and I can, exercise my 1/3. I've never actually done that. That's theoretical. I have never once in 15 years of being an option seller using this methodology have ever had to take stock on. I've never had to do it. People have this thing where you get like assigned options all the time. You have to take on. It doesn't happen. It's very, very rare. The only time that it's common is like if I held on to this trade, the stock went down to like 125. We're not going to do that. We're going to exit the trade when it's 135. Okay. So that becomes our stop price. We've created a scenario now where the stock can go up, down, or sideways and we can still be profitable. That's the beauty about what we do. All right. Here's what I want to do. I want to show you kind of a more in-depth example here on a couple of trades I did last year with my clients, just to give you an idea of how I do them. I'm going to set the trades up kind of like I did in my real-time class, and I'm going to show you some numbers here. Now, when the market is bullish, we're going to be placing bullish trades. I don't trade bearish when the market's bearish. I don't trade bullish when the market's bearish. Okay? I trade based on market direction. So last year we had times when the market was up, we had times when the market's down. And I'm going to be showing you some numbers. So kind of pay attention here. All right. This is Pulte. This was back in mid-June of last year. Beautiful looking graph. Beautiful. Lower light, upper left, stocks moving up, market was moving up at the time. We're going to go out there and choose an option that's about 21 to 45 days away. That option where that red line is, I can tell you based off of experience, that's about 25 days to expiration. Okay? Now, here's what I'm going to do. I am going to go into my broker, and pretty much all brokers that trade options have this. They have either a probability calculator or they have just probability right on their options chain. I think that the stock's going to go up. Okay, I think it's going to go up. So I'm going to go look at my puts that expire between 21 to 45 days. Every put is going to have a probability. So right now, the stock is trading at $76.05. Okay? Now, I go look at my option broker and it says, if I sell a $75 put, this option has a 56% chance of being profitable. That means over the next 21 or 25 days, I have a 56% chance of staying above that price. That gives me a 56% chance of winning and a 54% chance of losing. Not bad. Or I can select this option down here, which was the $73 strike. Now I have a 73% chance of over the next 25 days or so staying above $73. I have a 73% winning. I have a 27% chance of losing. Or I can go all the way down here at 70 and I can sell a $70 put on a $76 stock. Now, over the next 25 days, I have a 91% chance of making money. How do you lose? You lose if the stock drops below this. So this is a win. That would be a loss. Okay? And vice versa for every option that we looked at. So, for instance, if I chose A, this would be a win. This would all be a loss. Flip it around. This would be a win. If I did the B, this would be a loss. Okay, that's how it works. Now, I already kind of accidentally moved the slide forward and showed you that 73% is the right choice. But I'm going to try to have to back up here and kind of rework the way I like to present this. Most traders, if you ask them, if I asked you, hey, if I gave you a 56% chance of winning, a 73% chance of winning, or a 91% chance of winning, most traders, without understanding risk and reward and all that kind of stuff, they're immediately going to go out and say, Ron, give me the 91%. And that's valid. That's the way I would answer that question too. If you just said, hey, Ron, do you want a 70% trading strategy, 60 or 50? I'm going to go with the highest percentage probability without knowing anything else about the system. But here's the problem. As the probability goes higher, the risk goes even higher. So if I take a trade that's got a 91% probability, again, I saw a couple of you comment about this before about risk. If I did this trade at 91%, I might be able to make $1,000 on a winning trade. But when I lose, I'm going to lose 15 grand. What good is it winning 9 out of 10 times when that 1 out of 10 comes in and wipes out all of your profits and then some? I love probability, but too much probability is a bad thing. Too much of anything is probably a bad thing, right? Heck, too much water can kill you, right? So again, what we're looking for typically is we're going to be looking right around the 60 to 70% range for our options. We can sometimes go higher if the premium's priced high enough, but I'm looking for generally a 60 to 70% range. So in this trade, I ended up doing the 73%. Now here's the exact trade that I took. This is called a bull put spread. Why is it called a bull put spread? Well, it's bull because it's something you do when you're bullish. Puts because I'm selling a $73 put and I'm buying a $70 put. The spread is this in the middle. It's a $3 spread. Bull put spread. Now, when I did this trade, I brought in about $1,750-ish, around that. So when I entered this trade in the market, remember, I get paid. I was paid $1,750-ish for this trade. Now, what I want to have happen is I want the stock to go up. And then what's going to happen is as the stock goes up, the value of these options are going to decline. They're 1750, they might be worth 1500, then they might be worth 1200, then they might be worth 1000. Eventually they'll be worth about 850 bucks. Why is 850 bucks key? Because that's where I'm going to take profits. I take profits at roughly 1/2 of the premium that I collect when I started. That allows me to take profits quicker. It increases my success rate and it increases my overall performance. Now, in this case, the trade went up in 3 days. I was able to lock in my profits very, very quickly. That's a very short trade. Sometimes that happens. I've had trades where I won the same day. It's rare, but it can happen that fast. It's not usual. Now, what do you do when the market becomes bearish? Well, then we look for stocks that look like this. This is Target. It was in an extended downtrend. And what I liked about Target at the time is that just broken below that support level. I love that. So now I think the stock's going to go down. What do? I go out to my option broker. This option is probably around 40 days to expiration. Remember, I'm looking for 21 to 45. Typically, I'm trading monthly contracts because that's where the liquidity is. But this option's probably around 40 days. I go look for my option broker. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look for options above the current stock because I think the stock is going to go down now. So I want the market to stay below something up here. I open up my option chain. I see these probabilities. If I sell a 135 option, it gives me a 64% chance. So I'm winning. And then I've got a 36% chance of losing. If I sell the one at B at 76%, I have a 76% chance of winning. I have a 24% chance of losing. If I went out and I sold a 145, I've got an 85% chance of winning, 15% chance of losing. I make money in that case as long as the stock stays below there. Anywhere below there, I make money. Now, based on what you know, based on what we talked about, what do you think the proper probability here is? What do you think the proper probability is for? All right. Yeah. I mean, I see a lot of you answering B and a lot of you answering C. Nobody's answered A. That's good because now you're starting to recognize that too much probability is no good. For those of you that answered B, you are correct. For those of you that answered C, you are correct also. It can really be either one of these. Now, when I'm faced with a situation like this, which one do I choose? I choose the most probability that has a proportional amount of risk. So in this case, the options were very overpriced, and I was able to go to B and give myself a 76% chance of winning. Now, this trade, it's a little bit different. It's called a bear call spread. Bear call spread. Okay? Bearish, because I think the stock's going to go in the bearish mode. Calls, because now I'm selling a 140 call and I'm buying a 145 call. Spread, because there's a $5 difference or spread between the two. Now, this is a little bit more typical of what can happen. Over the next 7 days, The stock only drops a little bit, right? I entered the trade at around 130, right in about here, and then the stock dropped down about 7 trading days later to around 127. 7 days, 765. So when I did this trade, I sold it. I collected $1,500 when I took the trade. I exited the trade for around 750. What does that mean? So when I enter the trade, the broker paid me this. When I exit the trade, I pay this. If the broker paid me 1,500, I give the broker 750 back. When I close the trade, I walk away with the difference of 750. This trade was a little bit more at 764.34, but again, it's always going to account a little bit for when you exit. Now, another one of our client I worked with is Jim. Jim said prior to working with me, he told me his results were inconsistent. He felt very unsatisfied. He kept thinking there had to be something else out there that was better. Have you ever felt that way? There's something out there better. He said he wanted a way to supplement what he was doing and provide more of a regular income with a higher probability of success. He said after learning the system of being an option seller, he had 21 winners in a row and returned about 76% in 8 months. His average trade lasted only 8 days. Can you imagine how that must feel to be going from inconsistent where all your trades are generating income like that? Well, let me ask you a question. You saw a lot of our clients. You saw Bob, you saw Jim, you saw Mike, you saw, Bruce. That was them. What would an income system like this allow you to do? Share with me in the chat window. Ron, if I could make another 3%, what could you do with that? Because you can do it. It's not rare. It's not unusual. It's typical. Quit my job sooner. There you go. Retire faster. Worry less about Social Security. Beat inflation. Exactly. Listen, you can do this too. This is not atypical. Okay? All right. We said before that buying is gambling, selling is about controlling risk and putting the odds of success in your favor to generate income. The option paycheck system makes sure you have a guaranteed maximum risk. And it all goes back to whether you'd rather be the gambler or the casino. Keep in mind, the house always wins in the end, right? Remember that being an option seller is the way you can make consistent income each month. It allows you to do it safer and with a higher probability of success than just simply going out there and buying and selling the stock. Now let's put this together. I want to show you how you can have a bulletproof system that you can do in as little as 15 minutes a day. Now my students who have implemented this system told me this is probably one of the most important things they learned. Now why? Well, one of the biggest things people ask me is how much time is it going to take me? And it's really a good question. Well, here's the challenge. There's thousands of stocks out there. You got to find how to pick the right stock, the right strategy, when do you get in, what expiration, what price, what if it goes against you. And when I start talking about that, they're like, oh my gosh. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack because there's so much information out there, you don't know where to look. You could spend hours researching trades. You're going from guru to guru looking for advice. Without a system, you're trading blindly. You're like a mouse running through a maze, bumping into wall after wall. It's stressful. It's disheartening. You don't know where to go. But with the right system, you can identify good trades and get reliable income in as little as 15 minutes a day. But to get that, you need a system and not just any system. A straight line system, a really simple way to know when to place your trades, how to find them, how to set them up, and how to manage them. So let me walk you through the pieces of the options paycheck system and the order they go in. Nobody else teaches option selling this way. This is like the secret sauce. There's 6 pieces, and the top 5 build on each other, and then the kind of 6th is the bow tie. Okay? We start out at the top with market direction. Too many traders ignore this, and they just start going out placing trades. You're going to be placing trades that are either bullish or bearish. So you got to know a way to find the market direction. By doing this, you're narrowing your focus. So instead of looking at everything, you're looking at one of 2 possible scenarios. Our options paycheck system has a timing signal built in that we use to tell us the market's direction. After you know the direction of the market, you want to find stocks that are highly likely to move in the same direction. Just trading the stocks you know or listening to the gurus on TV, it's not the best choice. What you want to do is find good stocks already in uptrends when the market's rising, bad stocks that are in downtrends when the market's falling. Now, we save you a lot of time in 2 ways. We look at 2 main factors, fundamentals and price trend, i.e. the chart. We have pre-built searches in our VectorVest platform, which we use instead of digging through all the data that these institutions throw at you. Now that you've got your list of stocks, you want to find a way to select the best ones for option trading. Earlier, we looked back at how big an effect volatility had on options price. So we're going to focus on selling options with volatility in that higher end of the range, but we don't stop there. To take even more risk out, we're going to filter out those with upcoming earnings, and we're going to make sure the expiration date is in the sweet spot. So you can use the tools from brokers to do this. We happen to have a proprietary search tool which finds these candidates in seconds. Now it's time to set up the trade. We're going to pick the one that has the highest probability of success based on, remember what I talked about, the strike price that we select. And we also have to manage that risk reward. We want to make sure that we have the best risk reward with the highest probability of winning. We don't want to have those trades where one bad trade wipes out a bunch of winners. Now that you've got your trade ready to pick up, you got to know what to do before you place it to know what you're going to do if it goes for you or against you. I don't want you sitting in a trade like feeling like frozen like a deer in the headlights. Our paycheck system has rules to take profits at predetermined levels. These can be set up in advance with your broker. And if a trade goes against you, I have an adjustment strategy that we can use that's optional that brings in even more income to minimize any losses. We also know when to exit a trade, and I can set that order up in advance with my broker as well. That way, if the market or the trade goes against you, it can get out automatically. Now, depending on your broker, you can do that. Last, you want a way to do it quickly and efficiently. You don't want to be spending all day on the process. So you need some tools that allow you to do these things and something you're comfortable using. Some brokers have great tools for this. Thinkorswim has good tools. IB has good tools. Fidelity has really good tools for this. Tasty Trade has really good tools for this. So you might find brokers have very effective tools. You might find some paid tools to be effective, like we use VectorVest Options Pro, and it saves a lot of time. Now, time was what Hugh wanted. Earlier, we talked about Mike and Jim. Each of them was getting the results in about 15 minutes a day. Well, so is Hugh. He actually told me his biggest struggle was finding a system that was efficient and worked. He said he didn't have that proper balance between trading and free time. He didn't have that balance that he wanted. Are you like that too? Do you spend too much time doing things you don't want to do and not enough time doing the things you want to? Now that Hugh has learned the options paycheck system of selling options, he said he has more confidence, more free time, and he's able to have more fun. In his first 43 trades, he had 38 winners and returned over $26,000 in 4 months. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to do an exercise here. Take your pen, put a little star next to the part of the system where you're pretty good at. For example, if you have a quick way to find a list of stocks that go in the direction of the market, you're probably pretty good at market direction and stocks. But if you have an area where something isn't working or you need a little work, put a frowny face. So, for example, a couple of you mentioned that you've never traded options before. Well, you're probably going to put a question mark or something from option selection down, right? Don't take too much time. I want you to just give yourself a grade on what you're good at and where you need some work. Okay? I'm going to give you about 15 seconds. Now, I'm willing to bet maybe 1 in 100 investors will ever know how to do this. So let me ask you, in the chat window, I want you to share with me. I'll give you a couple seconds to write this down. What areas do you need to work on? Where are your weaknesses that you need to focus on? Boom, trade management. I see trade management right off the bat. Well, again, I know some of you talked earlier about risk. Trade management's big. That's why, this is why option selling sometimes gets such a bad rap, because when you don't control your risk, you can lose a lot more than your average gain. And again, for those of you that are checking in saying, I haven't traded options before, so options down. Here's the thing. It doesn't matter where you are in this, okay? We got to get you all stars all the way down, because once you do, you're going to be able to generate income and do it in less than 15 minutes a day. So listen, I can't know your exact reason for coming today with webinar, but I'm going to make a few guesses here. Maybe you haven't really known what to do and you feel like you've been trading blindly, bumping from one wall into the next. It's left you with inconsistent results, making some money, but then you're giving it all back on your next trade. Just like Jim said he did before he learned the options paycheck system. Maybe you're suffering through loss after loss, and those small losses are killing your portfolio. Maybe the money coming in isn't exceeding the money going out. Maybe you're just not where you want to be. You haven't even done this yet, and you just want to start learning how to generate income and making money. Today, I showed you the secret to fixing that. And again, it's a secret I bet only 1 in 100 investors will ever know, and now you're one of them. You saw how it's possible to win even if you're wrong. When you do it right, you can do it with very little risk. It's even less risky than buying or selling stocks. You saw the system that helps you get consistent income every month. Now, I showed you just a few of the many people who use the system every day, so they never have to worry about retirement again. You saw over and over the secret to generating consistent income is that shift from being the gambler to being the casino. Remember, you're going to be that one investor out of 100 who knows that secret. That means there's going to be 99 other investors out there who continue to do things wrong. They'll be buying options and making all the mistakes we talked about. You can't stop them from doing it. There's always going to be those investors out there who buy options incorrectly. Let them be the gamblers. As long as there's those gamblers out there, you may as well be the casino, because remember the old saying, the house always wins in the end. The option paycheck system teaches you how to stack probability of success in your favor, just like Brian learned, and Bruce, and Bob, and Jim, and Hugh, and John. So if you're like most people, you're wondering, well, how do I implement the paycheck system in my portfolio? Well, you have a choice. Option number one is you can do nothing. Stay exactly where you are right now. And listen, if you already have enough money to retire, you're not worried about running out of money, or don't need any extra income, that's cool. I love it. It's a great place to be. But if you want to make some extra income every month, that leaves you with two other options. Option two is you can do it alone. Try to learn how the option trades work, try to figure out the direction of the market, learn to analyze the stocks, find the best ones to trade, hope you pick the right one, manage it right. If you're willing to work hard, spend hours in front of your computer, read some books, you might be able to pull it off by trial and error. But why? Option three is to let me guide you through it. I'll walk you through each piece of the options paycheck system in just a few weeks. You're going to have that simple system to follow that doesn't take a lot of time. So those three options, ask yourself what's going to be the easiest. There's two types of people. Person number one is someone who dreams about their financial goals but never take action or do anything to make it happen. Person number two is someone who's serious about their financial future. You're ready to take action when you see an amazing opportunity in front of you. And since you're dedicated enough to be with me to this point, I'm willing to bet you're person number two, and that makes you the perfect candidate to get started on your first options paycheck. So let me tell you what we put together for you. The Options Paycheck Experience is the most comprehensive program for generating consistent income using option spreads, even if you've never traded options before. The Options Paycheck Experience is the only implementation program of its kind that teaches the secret to generating consistent income with options. It shows you exactly how to find, set up, and manage option spreads so you can generate income, and how to do it safer and consistent in any type of market condition. That way you never have that fear of running out of money. After going through the experience, you're going to know how calls and puts work, along with all the fancy terms. That way you no longer fear options. You're going to get clear signals telling you whether to place bullish or bearish trades and when not to trade. You're going to be able to quickly identify stocks that give you the best candidates for your option income trades. You're going to be using a rules-based approach, and that frees up a lot of time. You're not going to have to guess. We're going to be able to set up income trades that give you a base level of 70% or better success rate. You're going to have a trade management game plan in place prior to placing your trade. That way you know how to handle any situation the market throws at you. You're going to be able to confidently enter and exit trades with your broker like you're a pro, whether it's your first trade or your 500th trade. And most importantly, you're going to implement a system to safely and consistently generate income. That way you can live the lifestyle you want without that fear of running out of money. Now, the course is 8 modules, and we made them so each module builds on the one prior. So as you go through the modules, you're getting closer and closer to that end goal, which is a system for consistent income. Now, the first 2 modules, we call these the Option Income Foundation. A lot of people try to build a successful income portfolio, but they build that portfolio on a weak foundation of knowledge. And listen, we understand what it's like to learn options for the first time. We've been there. It's why it pays to learn from a team who's gone through this before. The outcome you're going to get in Module 1 is you're going to know exactly how calls and puts work. That way you can confidently use them in your trades. You're going to know which terms to pay attention to, which to ignore. That way you don't waste time or get frustrated. In Module 2, you're going to learn what a spread is and how it works. So you're going to be filled with all the confidence you need to start building that income system around those trades. Now that you got that solid foundation of options knowledge, we're going to lay out the step-by-step system placing income trades to generate options paychecks. Each step along the way is going to stack the probability in your favor and reduce your risk. And it all starts with knowing when to trade. We're going to give you complete clarity on market trends. So instead of looking at all the possible trades, you're going to narrow your focus. You're going to know whether to be bullish or bearish and when not to trade. Now that you know the direction of the market, we're going to teach you how to find stocks that are likely to move in that same direction. This is going to stack probably even more. The outcome here is you're going to know how quickly to find the best stocks and indexes to trade. That's going to give you the highest probability of success. Now that you got your list of stocks, we got to narrow it down to the best option candidates. That's going to give you the highest probability. By using the rules in this module, you're going to make sure you're getting paid top dollar for your trade and making it so you can make money even if the stock goes nowhere. You're going to continue to stack probability and reduce risk in Module 6 by the way you set your trades up. Here, you're going to make sure your trade is the perfect combination of risk-reward. You're going to know exactly where to set your strikes. Great trades don't happen by accident. They happen because of careful planning and that strategically setting them up correctly right from the start. You got your trade picked out. You're ready to go. In Module 7, you're going to learn how to have your plan in place so you know when to exit the trade, not only for profits, but to minimize losses. You're never going to be frozen like a deer in the headlights again. No matter what the market throws at you, you're going to know how to react. And that's going to allow you to trade completely stress-free. Now that you've found the best stock, you set up your low-risk, high-probability option trade, you mapped out your management plan, now it's time to place the trade. This module is going to break down the trade execution phase into simple, repeatable steps that you can commit to muscle memory in no time. And as a beginner, we put everything you need in a checklist. That way you don't miss a step. So when you're starting out, it's like having a security blanket to make sure that you do everything right according to the rules. And brokers can be intimidating. So we've got plenty of video walkthroughs for several popular brokers. I happen to use Thinkorswim, and we put together some click-by-click guides for Thinkorswim. Now, before I talk about the price of the course, I want to make the course low risk. How? We have a money-back guarantee. You can go through the entire course. If you're not satisfied we taught you how to profit using options, you just got to notify us within a week of finishing the course, and you can get all your money back. It's no risk. All we ask, though, is you give it your best effort. Come to the classes, watch the recordings, do the assignments, because we know if you do, you will see the results. If you don't do the work, you won't be eligible for a refund. Now, the reason why I make it that way is because I only want to attract people who are excited to jump in and ready to do the work. So when I put a limitation on says you have to do the work, I limit to that. So you've got that money back guarantee in your corner. That puts the onus on me to make sure you're doing this right. And remember, you're learning a system that averages 3% per month. That's 36% per year. It doesn't take a lot of time to do this every week. You know, a while back, I received this email from a client who took the course. Ron, I'm writing to thank you for teaching the options paycheck course. I took your class last fall and wanted you to know my results for the past 10 months. I keep a journal to document every trade, and so far I've profited on 239 trades of the 350 I've taken, a 68% winning rate. I've profited over 100,000 in that time. What's more exciting is my knowledge and experience have grown at taking really good trades. I've profited over 50,000 in the last 6 weeks. My success rate has been 78% of my last 100 trades. I only take trades that 2 to 1 or better risk reward. Thank you for teaching this simple but effective system. Now, I want to call upon this email real quick for one thing. I want you to notice that Joe took 350 trades over the course of 10 months. That's a lot of trades. That's way more trades than I do. I take maybe 15 trades a month. I have clients that take 1 trade a week. The beauty about this system is it scales. You can trade 5 grand, you can trade 100 grand, you can trade 50 grand. It doesn't matter. The system scales to what you do. Now, if I went back to Joe and told him that, I'd give him 100 grand in exchange for his 2, would he think that was a good trade? He does now. Well, I'm going to be making you guys a good trade offer here in just a second. Now, before I tell you more about it, I want to point something out. This is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's not something we expect to become a millionaire in the next 24 hours. It's serious and requires some effort on your part. So if you're not going to commit to it, then don't do it. It's not for you. It's for serious people who take their investing seriously and who are willing to put in the time to learn the system. So if you're serious about it, you're ready to do the work and get the results, then the Options Paycheck course is perfect for you. It's step-by-step training to go from option basics to a full, complete income generating system. Just these training modules alone are worth the price of the course, but we put together some great bonuses also. The first of which is our Mastery Package. The Mastery Package includes module by module mastery sessions. Each week we're going to have 2 mastery sessions, one dedicated to each module. This is going to help you master the course material. Then on Friday, I'll have an additional live Q&A. That means you're going to have 3 live sessions a week, giving you plenty of opportunities to ask questions to get help. We also record those sessions, so if you can't meet our live, it's okay. You can watch the recordings after they happen. This also includes private dedicated email support with me and the team, Additionally, if you don't already have it, we're going to give you access to VectorVest and Options Pro software. That way you can test drive what we think are the best tools on the planet to help you implement this. With the mastery package, you're going to have tools and support you need to master the techniques taught in the course. That way you're ready to place your first income trade in the shortest time possible. Now, speaking of that, the second bonus you're going to get, we call this the implementation month. I showed you guys my trading returns, my results over the past year and a half. You're going to get access to the sessions that I did those trades in. During those sessions, you're going to watch me find, select, set up, and place trades every week in real time. I'll show you how to manage my existing trades. It's a huge bonus. You're going to see the paycheck system in action. You can even follow along in your own account if you want to. I'm also going to hold live office hours twice a week. Together, we're going to walk through the system step by step in real time. Our past students said this was one of the most favorite parts of the course because watching that repetition really helped them cement the concepts for them. Now, if you're worried it might be too much, we also reduce this down into one trade per week using the S&P 500. This is where we boil it down to something you can do very quickly with one trade a week, one ticker symbol, one setup rule, one profit rule, one stop criteria. My teammate Brian taught this to his 14-year-old daughter at the time, and she could do it. For many of my students, this is the only system they use. So, as a recap, with today's offer, you're going to get the Options Paycheck Training Program, 8 training modules, the videos, the checklists, the cheat sheets, the quizzes, the slides, and a lot more. You're going to get the bonus mastery package, the implementation month bonus, and the SPX paycheck system. The total value of that is $54.75. So here's the opportunity in front of you. I'm going to roll up my sleeves, work with a couple hundred people who are serious about generating income. If you choose to be one of them, we're going to create an income system in your portfolio. Even if you've never had success with options before, we're going to do this. You're going to do this. So if you want to join me and have me take you by the hand, install this in your portfolio, then instead of that $5,000, the early bird price of the course is only $12.95. Now, because I respect your time, you spent about an hour with me so far. Here's what I want to do just for you. So if you order before the end of the webinar today, the live webinar, instead of paying $12.95, you can get it for $9.95. That means the full course, the 1 year of access to the course materials, 2 months of Options Pro and VectorVest, the mastery package, the implementation month for $9.95, all that stuff for $9.95. But the key is you've got to register before the end of today's session. Once we finish, we jack it back up to $12.95. So get out there, go to optionspaycheck.com. Now listen, I realize that $9.95 is a cost. It's not free. But you got to ask yourself, how much is it costing you not to do this? Remember, you got a money back guarantee, right? How much money are you going to lose out by trying to do this on your own? How much potential profit are you going to miss out? How much time and energy are you going to spend trying to do it? Then ask yourself, how would your life be different if you did it and it works? You know, there's an old expression. The best time to plant an oak tree is 20 years ago, so you can be sitting under it now enjoying its shade. You know, it's funny. I'm going off tax gear a little bit. My son has soccer on Saturday mornings, and my 4-year-old daughter, I wish I would have got a picture of this because I would have totally replaced this slide. She's like, Dad, it's too hot. I'm moving my chair under a tree, and I swear it was an oak tree. So she moved her little chair under an oak tree and sat in the shade. I wish I would have got a picture of that because I could have totally updated this slide with a picture of my 4-year-old daughter. But seriously, you know, when's the best time to plant a tree? 20 years ago, right? So you can be under it now. Well, the second best time is do it now. This is going to be one of those deciding days in your life. Is it going to be the day you decide to take action, set yourself up for a secure retirement? Or are you going to look back and say, man, I should have taken this opportunity to do it? Don't miss this opportunity. Don't regret the decision you make. I want to work with you over the next 2 months. I want to help you become an income trader. So remember, class is $9.95. Go to www.optionspaycheck.com. Get yourself registered. That only lasts while we're live. After we go away, price goes back up to $12.95. Don't wait. I don't want you to miss out. Okay? Now, before we break into the Q&A. Oh, and let me know if you're going to sign up. Say, hey, Ron, I'm in. We want to welcome you as well. Before we break into the Q&A, you've heard me say live sessions recorded. When's the class start? What happens with the live sessions? What if you miss one? Here's the schedule. The class actually starts live next Tuesday, July 30th. Registration closes at 10 a.m. It's the last time you can sign up for the course at $12.95. We start next Tuesday. Okay? Now, this is our live schedule through the month of late July into late August. The first week of July, or last week of July, first week of August, we have the welcome session. That's just where we get together, show you all the resources are, make sure you know what you're doing to find all the stuff. Then we break into module 1 on Wednesday the 31st. Now, the way the course works is this. You're going to get access to all of the materials with the exception of VectorVest and Options Pro. That starts on the 1st of the month, okay? You're going to get access to all the materials. I want you by next Wednesday to watch module 1. Then on Wednesday the 31st, we're going to review it. On Thursday, August 1st, we're going to review module 2. So between now and next Thursday, I want you to cover modules 1 and 2 on your own. Then we're going to do a mastery where we're going to discuss the concepts. Then on Friday at noon, we have an open Q&A. So all of these are recorded. If you can't view our live sessions, it's not a big deal. We record all of this. You can do the class totally through watching the recordings. Now, as you can see, August through late August, we learn the 8 modules. And what that does is it sets us up for September when we actually start implementing. So our first implementation class is going to be Monday, August 26th. I get together with my students at 11 a.m. to trade the S&P 500 and at 2 p.m. to trade stocks. Then on Tuesday at 4:30 p.m. we have an office hours. And then Friday at noon, we have an office hours as well. Those are just 2 more classes where we're going to repeatedly go through the process of teaching you how to do this. The following week, Monday is Labor Day, so we move everything to Tuesday. But you're going to see through the rest of the month of September, we're going to get together. What is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 10, 14, 16. We're going to get together 20, like 24 times to do this with you live. We are going to teach you and show you how this works in real time. Speaking of 20 years ago under the shade, that's what Greg said. Prior to the course, I struggled with knowing how to protect myself when the market was moving away from me, and I feared if I didn't fix it, I'd lose more of my portfolio than I can afford to lose. After taking the options paycheck, I feel better prepared to trade and much more confident. In the first month, I made $10,200 from my options income trading with 9 winners and 1 loser. I would absolutely recommend the course. It was well done, very educational, and very informative. It's an excellent educational opportunity I'm thankful I took advantage of. Don't let fear hold you back. You will make more in the first month than you paid to take the course. I was one of the fencers who didn't take the course for a long time when I saw it offered. I lost a lot by not taking the program sooner. I'm very grateful and appreciative of the work that was put into making the training program available. Now, I know a lot of you said that, you're new to options. We poll all of our prior graduates, and we found 85% of them had said you can be successful to this with no or little prior options experience. My whole guide of what I do is I try to put probability on your side. That's what I'm going to do here. We're putting probability on your side. 85% of our prior attendees said that you can do this with little to no options experience. These are just a few more of our clients in the past who've taken the course and reported back. Cheryl, I've surpassed my expectations. I don't need the money back guarantee. I tripled my investment. Frank, after taking the course, I've had a profit of 7,300. Before the course, it was a crapshoot. Now I believe in the options trades I'm doing. Cam, I've made back the initial investment so many times over. Even though it's a small part of my portfolio, it's probably the most profitable. Hugh, I've initiated 43 trades with 38 winners. Jake, I finally found a method of making consistent winning trades with a high probability of success. Some more of our more recent clients that took the course. Ron, thanks for a wonderful course. Within a short time, you opened our eyes to many things. Your experience, enthusiasm, your desire to teach come through easily. You put a lot of thought into the training manual. Already paid for the tuition with a few Delta 35 SPX trades. David, the options paycheck experience is by far the best course I've ever attended all my years of VectorVest. It's 99. You've eliminated my fear of trading options. The manner in which you presented the material is truly outstanding. Ben, the attention I received for all my email questions is above and beyond what I expected. A lot of my questions were demonstrated in class, which made my learning much easier. Great job. So again, take advantage. The $9.95 price runs through the end of the webinar. Get out there, sign up for it, www.optionspaycheck.com. I realize that $9.95 is a lot to ask. I get it. We have that money back guarantee. You're going to be protected. We're going to make sure that you can do this. All right, and again, if you're signing up, let us know in the chat. Just say I'm in. Now we're going to bring in Brian, a friend of mine. Remember I told you Brian taught his daughter this? That's the same Brian. We're going to bring Brian in, and we're going to do a Q&A to kind of wrap things up here.
All right, thanks, Ron. Great to be here. Nice session.
Thank you.
Lots of questions in the chat, lots of answers given. We got our teammate John answering a lot of questions in the chat. So speaking of that, if you do have questions, let's say you're on the fence and you're like, oh, should I do it? Should I not do it? Like, you might as well ask a question to help. We're here to push you over the fence, hopefully on the side of joining the course. But if it pushes you on the other side, at least you'll you'll have made a decision, right? So if you're here, ask us, let us know. We've got a bunch of people who are already in. So welcome to all of you. We're in a minute, Ron's going to give a little sneak peek of what it looks like inside of the course. So those of you who are in, will show you what it looks like. And hey, if you're not in, you'll also see what it looks like inside the course. We'll do that in just a minute. The $9.95, like Ron said, will be good for a little bit here while we do some Q&A. And so when you go to optionspaycheck.com, you'll see a little countdown timer. We might have given you a little extra time today to fill it out, but it'll be over today. And then it'll go back up to $12.95. We do have some people who are watching who have taken this course before. I do want to let those of you who have taken it before know that we do have an alumni rate. All right, so if you've taken this course before, and let's say it's been a year since you've taken it, we do have an alumni rate, which is $4.95. That'll get you back in. And some people say, well, why do alumni need to take it again? Well, usually they just say they just want to get a refresher. It's been a couple of years. They just want to be in on all of Ron's extra sessions, a little bonus session. So if that's you, we do have an alumni rate. You can type into the chat saying that you'd like information on how to sign up with the alumni rate, and John will help you out. All right, but very quickly, registration does close next week, and then nobody can get in, right? So registration closes the morning of July 30th. So get in while you can, while registration's open. All right, so I see some people in the chat who are in, like Jeff and Steven at a quick glance. They just did very quickly, I'm in. So by the way, if you're in, please check your email, because we'll send you an email with all the directions to get into the course and the dates and the times and all that. So please check your email. We do have some questions from people like Claire and Jeff and Lee, it looks like. So we're going to grab all those questions in a minute. And those of you who are looking for that little checklist that Ron talked about at the very beginning, we put that into the handouts area for you, so you can download that PDF. Woo! All right. So Ron, I think the first thing I mentioned was we were going to give people a little tour of what the course looks like behind the scenes. So maybe you can just hop in there and show them what it looks like.
I can. All right, so once you sign up, you're going to get an email. Should be pretty quick, and it's going to give you access to our university site. Now, in the university site, you're going to notice two big sections. Over on the left, this is kind of like our table of contents over here. And in the middle, this is where you play all the videos. Most importantly, when you play the videos, in the lower right-hand corner, there's a maximize function. I get this email from time to time saying, Ron, it's really small. How can I make it bigger? Well, there's a maximize button right there, and you can just maximize the videos. Now, there's a couple of videos. Watch me first, kind of just like a little introduction, a reminder of what you signed up for, what we do, our kind of concepts. We're going to have a live welcome recording. That's the one that we're going to do next Tuesday. So when you open that up, after next Tuesday, you're going to see that video there. So that way, if you miss our live welcome session, you want to watch it, it'll be there on the 31st. And I would recommend you watch that video, because that video is going to go over, where everything is, everything that you need to do. It's a very important video, actually. And then under the course curriculum checklist, what I want you to do is open that up, and I want you to print out this checklist. This checklist is important because it does a couple things. Number one, it gives you a module by module checklist of what we want you to do. So in module 1, and really for every module, it goes all the way through module 8. We want you to watch the snapshot, all the lessons. We want you to do the module review, the review questions, and the action items. So if I look and I'm under module 1, if I open up the recorded lessons, you're going to see there's the snapshot, there's all the lessons, there's the module review and action items. Now, when we say do the work, I just want you to do the action items. You don't have to send them to me. You don't have to have your work checked by me or anything like that. Every module has an action item. We want to make sure that you're learning and you're doing in the same token. Now, if you're having trouble with the action items, we actually have an action item walkthrough video. So if you're having trouble doing it, we can walk you through it. We also walk you through it typically during the mastery session. So a lot of interaction for you to get that done. There's also a frequently asked question area. And then here's the area where you'll find the mastery session recording. So our first mastery session is Wednesday of next week. If you don't come to that and you want to watch the recording, module 1, you open up the mastery session recording. And then next week after Wednesday, that'll have the new date on it. This is actually the one that I did for my last options paycheck course, but you can watch it if you want to. You can click on that link and you can watch the last one I did, but then that'll update with the new one on usually like within 24 hours after the end of the live course. Now, back to that curriculum checklist. I want to go back to that real quick because there's one more important thing on here. If you go down to the last page, I get this question a lot. Ron, what is the schedule of live events? Well, they're all right here. So on page 6, this is the schedule of all the live events. Now, the way this works is we send you out an email 24 hours ahead of time saying, hey, this is a live event scheduled for 24 hours from now, and here's the link. However, we know that emails can get lost, stolen, cluttered, junked, what have you. If you go over to this lesson list, scroll all the way to the bottom, the very, very last thing you see is the webinar links. If I open that up, here are links to every one of our live events. So you can kind of reconcile that with the live event schedule. So if next Tuesday comes and you're like, I didn't get the email, well, you can just go right here, click on that link, and it'll take you right to the right web area to go to. Okay, so that's very important. Now again, through all modules, all 8, they're all the same, recorded, review, etc., etc. After you get through the modules, the next thing down is going to be your SPX trading system. Some of our traders like to just start by trading the SPX, and that's perfectly fine. Just watch the SPX paycheck, and my advice would be to watch the 35 delta trade. That's a very simple trade that you can do. And as long as you're okay with just following directions, here's what I want to tell you. If you're okay with following directions, like I'm going to speak for Brian's then 14-year-old daughter, because I'm pretty sure, Brian, your 14-year-old daughter's in college now. But if you're willing to just follow directions, not ask why, just follow directions. Here is what I need to do. I'm selling this option. I'm buying this option. I'm exiting here. If you're okay with doing that without asking why, then the SPX system can be very good for you right off the bat. If you're the kind of person that wants to know why, go through the 8 modules first where we teach you the why. Then do the bonus SPX, and then you'll know the why and the procedure. So just keep that in mind. Under that, this is the area where you're going to find the Q&As and office hours recording. So like next Friday, we've got the Q&A. If I open up under week 1, that's where you're going to find the recording for the office hours. Down a little bit farther, you're going to see our recordings for our live trading sessions. So these will all be updated when we get into September. You're going to get it's like a month and 3/4 subscription to Options Pro. You're going to get access to Options Pro on the 1st of August. Okay, you don't need it right before then, so it's not. We have to do it that way because of exchange agreements and all that kind of stuff. But Options Pro, there's some tutorial videos. I would urge you, if you want to get ready the most, watch these videos on the risk graph. The risk graph, in my experience, is the most the most confusing thing for a lot of people that have never traded options before, because it tells you how much you're going to gain or lose on the position. So risk graphs are something that you do want to study. Under that, we have our broker help videos, Thinkorswim, E-Trade, IB, Ally, and Fidelity. Those are the only brokers I have access to of the platform, so those are the only videos I can make. I also just got a Tasty Trade account. That'll come soon, but probably not for months yet. And then again, there's those live webinar links. And underneath that, under resources, if you open that up, this is where you're going to find where you can print all of the slides that I use. So print them out, take notes on them, keep them for your for study and everything. Then as you get towards the later modules, like module 8, you'll be able to get our stock credit spread checklist and all that kind of stuff. So that's where everything is. That's our university site where you're going to be spending the next 2 months in the paycheck curriculum.
All right, thanks, Ron. A couple of questions. We got one from Claire. Claire says, how does this work in an IRA or a Roth IRA?
All you have to have, and again, I do this in an IRA too, you have to have what's called a limited margin IRA. So I would call your broker and say, I need a limited margin IRA. Like if you Google it, and I just Googled it real quick, limited margin IRA, you can see Fidelity, limited margin, Schwab, E-Trade, how to actively trade. You need a limited margin IRA. And they do them both. I have one at Fidelity that I trade. I think a couple of my colleagues have them at Fidelity. I think, Brian, you might have one at Thinkorswim. I opened one at Tasty Trade just a few weeks ago. So you just have to have a limited margin IRA.
All right, next one is from Jeff. Jeff has another broker question. He says, do all the options brokers charge the same amount?
Mainly nowadays they do. Everybody became kind of discounted. So I think like pretty much IB is cheaper a little bit. I think Tasty Trade's a little bit cheaper, but pretty much the standard rate nowadays here in the US is like 65 cents a contract with no ticket charge. So they're all pretty much the same. You just got to find one that you're comfortable with.
All right. So another reminder that the 9.95 rate is good for a short amount of time. Now we do have members who have been with VectorVest for a long time. So VectorVest is a company, for those of you who don't know. VectorVest has been around and in business for decades. So we've got clients of ours who have been with us for a long time who have reached a status we call elite status. So if you are a VectorVest elite member, I did want to let you know that this $9.95 rate for you would be good all the way through registration close, which is next Tuesday, the 30th at 10 a.m. But if you are not an elite member, you have now to get the $9.95 rate, and then the rate would go to $12.95 after the session. Still worth it. We know it's an investment, but it's one of those investments where you should see a return on your investment. It's not like you just going out there and buying a television, right? So you should see a return on your investment. All right. Ron, you answered actually a bunch of the other questions that would come in when you were at the end of your session, as far as what if I miss one of the sessions, and where do I get the recordings? This question came in from Lee. I'll give my take on it, Ron, and then you could always add to it. Lee was saying, it was a question about the money back guarantee, saying you mentioned you have to watch all you mentioned you need to attend if you wish to have the money return option, the money back guarantee, basically within a week of the course ending, and saying how many can you miss. And I was letting Lee know, we just want you to make an honest effort. Like, you can go in there and watch the recordings if you can't make it to a live session. Right? We're not going to be a school teacher with an attendance sheet saying, has this person missed 3 classes. But I did want the main thing I wanted to get across for you, Lee, and everybody is the mindset going into the course. And I know what it's like buying a course, and you're like, oh, it comes with a money back guarantee. Let me make sure I meet all the requirements to get my money back at the end of the course. I think a lot of us have been there, but I want to try and get you to attack this with a different mindset. Because if you attack this with the attitude of, how do I get my money back at the end? You're not going to give it the best effort, or most people don't, right? I want you to go at this thinking, this is going to work. I'm going to make this work because other people have made it work, and I'm going to do this, and it's going to work for me, and give it your best effort. And if for some reason, you feel like it's not for you, or you can't understand it, which a lot of people don't feel that way. But if for some reason you do, then at that point, let us know. But give it your all. Give it your 100%. Attack it, thinking it and knowing it's going to work, and good things will happen for you. But Ron, that being said, I said I was going to pass it to you, Mr. Wheeler, to add your 10 cents to it.
Yeah, I think you hit all the key highlights there. And the one thing I would just say is, just to kind of go, we do the course live, but don't feel like you have to view it live. We probably have 30 to 40% of the people who take this course that just do it based off the recordings. You're going to, I know that you're going to interact with me at some point, whether it's via email, the online recordings. You're going to be asking questions. We pretty much can tell, if you're working at it. You're gonna ask questions throughout it. We're gonna know. We're gonna know if you're working at it. So don't worry too much about the nuts and bolts there, like Brian said. But you're gonna do it.
All right, I think this will be the last question, and then we'll start wrapping things up for the day. There's a couple of people, Raj and I think it was Frank. They were asking about the size of their account. So I guess how big of an account does somebody need, like base amount? But then I guess how much do they need? Is there a maximum amount? And is there like a sweet spot, like an ideal amount to kind of get started?
Good question. Yeah. So, listen, you can open up an account with as little as $5,000. I mean, you can open up an account with less than that, but I always base it on one contract of the S&P. It's kind of like, if you're doing this with a small account, I generally tell people to not worry about trying to find stocks and just trade the S&P. It's much easier. So you can do it for as little as $5,000. That's fine. I like to think like 25 to 30,000 is a good starting amount if you have a little bit more to do, because with that you can diversify a little bit. You can take a couple of stock trades, you can take an S&P trade, you can kind of move your money around a little bit. But, you know, any number between 25 and 100 is going to give you a lot of coverage to the market. You're going to start to see less and less opportunities as you get up into the 4 to 500,000 range. So, like I said earlier, the beauty is the system scales. You can go low, you can go small, you can go big. You know, I have an account that I started trading. Now I mentioned I trade 100,000. I keep that at 100,000 base every year, move my profits and other things. But I started an account with an IRA this year using Fidelity. I think I had $19,000 in it. So it's like 30 right now. I opened up like a $10,000 account with Tasty Trade in an IRA. You know, so I'm kind of all over the place, and I trade a contract here, trade a couple contracts here, where I spread it around. Really, sorry, I had to sneeze. Really, anything 5 and up is going to work just fine. You'll be okay.
All right, thanks, Ron. Like I promised, that was actually the last question. So we are ready to wrap up. So everybody, just a quick reminder, the $9.95 is good for a little bit. Go to optionspaycheck.com now to get in. And we are excited to begin 1 week, and then we kick off the first session. So Mr. Wheeler, I'm going to pass it over to you to wrap up for the night.
Sounds good. Thank you, Brian, and thank you to John in the background as well. I appreciate your help. And thanks to all of you. I know an hour and a half of your time is valuable, so I appreciate you spending it with me. And I want to wish all of you the best of success. For those of you that are signed up and said you're in, thank you. And welcome to the Options Paycheck Experience. We're going to work together over the next 2 months, and we're going to put this income system in your portfolio. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to do this. We are going to do this. You have to say that to yourself, because we're going to. All right? So with that, I'll go ahead and we'll wrap it up. Thank you again, everyone. And I wish all of you the best of success in the future. And for those of you that have signed up, we'll see you next week live as we start the Options Paycheck Experience. So thanks again, everybody, and have a great evening.